I'm Paula Boland, and you are with Paula B Coaching, and welcome to my YouTube channel.
Welcome back to the Paula B Coaching podcast, where we're talking all things real estate. And today I want to explore the idea and get away a little bit from strategy and speak more about mindset. And many of you think that, just making your millions or making your 100,000 or making $50,000 in real estate investments is a matter of strategy. And it is. Strategy is really important. But the first thing you need to lead the strategy is a mindset. And I want to talk about mindset from two different perspectives. One is a money mindset, and then the other is just your general mindset of how you think this is going to go. And I'll go general first, and then I'll go into the money, because it's fascinating to me what happens with people in their money mindset as we work together. In terms of general mindset, I cannot tell you the number of times that I start working with a new client and they are interested in flipping. You know, my model is I always teach flipping houses first. And the reason I do that is because when you flip, you learn almost everything there is to learn about real estate. You learn how to budget, how to find financing, how to find the right property, how to plan your, what you're going to do, how to build your business, how to scale. Every piece of it can be handled in flipping. Plus you make an ton of money if you do it right. And that's what my system does. We have some standards and some ways of doing things that make sure that you make at least $50,000 per house. But I cannot tell you the number of times where somebody signs on for that and they come to me and they're in a meeting with me in our planning meeting and our coaching session, and they'll say, I don't know if this works out. I don't know if I can really do it. I've seen other people do it, but I'm not sure if it'll work for me. And I just want you to really start listening to yourself when you start to think about that you want to go to a new level of living, when you want to go to a new level of business. And by the way, I think of real estate investing as creating a business, right? And when you move into that mode, if you would just listen to how you speak about your life and how you speak about how things are going to go. And then I'll also hear people say, I might not be smart enough to do this. I'm really slow. I don't learn things fast. When you are using that kind of language, you are essentially putting out a prayer, if you will, for it not to work out. And I want to say that again. The language that you use, what you say to yourself, how you roll and make moves is dependent on how you speak to yourself, which is dependent on how you think. And if you're thinking, I don't know if this is going to work out, I don't know if I'm smart enough, I don't know if I can do that, guess what you're going to get? You're going to get trouble. You're going to get, and then the other thing I hear all the time is, this is hard. I know this is going to be hard. I hear it all the time. I know this is going to be hard, but I can get through it. Well, do you really want to live your life like, getting through hard? How about if you change it to say, this is easy and you're going to help me make it easy, Paula? When you start saying that about anything, this is just easy, and you stop looking toward where the speed bumps are, but you joyously expect the best, guess what comes to you? I promise you, I see it over and over and over again. And it's really important in any business that you lead your life, right? But especially in real estate, you can do the strategy all day long, but if you don't think it's going to work, guess what's going to happen? It's not going to work. If you think it's going to be hard, guess what's going to happen? You're going to be stressed out and overwhelmed. All right. So what we want to do is start to listen. That's the best thing we can do with this, is listen to ourselves and how we're talking about the business models that we're running, especially our real estate projects, right? I want you to listen to what you're saying, listen to yourself. And the best thing is to be aware. Once you're aware, you can change it. All right. So I'm going to walk into the next piece that comes along with this, right along this was, and this always fascinates me. When people start working with me over and over and over again, their money mindset usually is very fear-based, very tenuous. They're very afraid about making a mistake and having risk and all of that. And I'm not saying that that shouldn't be part of what you're looking at. I mean, you want to make sure that, your risks are okay and that you're, taking care of that. And that's why I'm here, right? I'm like looking at your profits with all my experience and making sure it happens. And that's what I talk about here all the time. But most of the time when people first start talking with me, we have this first or second meeting where we plan what they want their business to look like. And secretly, I'm not out loud and I'm not laughing at you, but when you tell me how much you want your real estate investing business to make for you in a year's time, it just, in the initial time when we're together, when people aren't used to talking about money, they aren't used to seeing the money come. And that's totally fine. That's just where you are, right? They'll usually say, oh, if I make $100,000, that's usually what I hear, $100,000, 6 figures, or I can leave my job this year. That would be amazing. And I kind of secretly, I write it down and I secretly just sort of say, laugh to myself because I think you ain't seen nothing yet. And we go forward, and about 2 weeks later, in my world, you have your first project, your first flip project. And we don't take a first flip project unless it's, $50,000 profit. I mean, we know how to run the numbers. I do that with you, all the things. And all of a sudden, the person starts to realize, you start to realize, $50,000 in 3 months' time? This could be something. And then often, because we've done this right, we found you the right project, which I help you with. We found the right budget. We know what to do in the rehab, which is going to be another show where I talk about what you watch in the rehab. You all of a sudden can also be looking at, oh my God, I'm going to make $100,000. I remember my first, not my first client, but one of my clients, it was her first time being involved in real estate. And she was saying the same thing, $50,000, whatever. The first project that that we put together, she was looking at the budget and it was like $80,000 in profit. And she said to me, I think I can do this. $80,000 is more than I've ever made in a year of my salary. And I could make that in 3 months. And all of a sudden, when that shows up, it's like living into a mindset shift. Sometimes you have to experience it to be able to shift it, right? You do all the things, all the meditations, all the affirmations, all the things, right? All the things about manifesting, which I totally am into it. I'm not saying don't do that, but when you start to live it, it really changes. And so when somebody sees that $80,000 in profit for their first project, and I'm not saying every project is like that, don't, get me wrong, but there's some switch that gets flipped. And then all of a sudden, about 3 months working with me, we bring out that plan again, that plan where you said, oh, I just wish if I could leave my job or if I could get 6 figures, I'd be so happy. And then there's a conversation about, what do you think this is going to be now? And the person's almost always, I think I can make $500,000 in a few months. And then once you start working with me for about 4 months, it's a mindset shift. It's like you're seeing what's happening through what we create, but you're starting to open yourself up to those amounts of money. And that is how you're looking at things, right? And so then your perspective changes. People that work with me, their perspective changes to, I'm going to get to $1 million in a year. And we start openly speaking about 7 figures. We openly are speaking about, you're putting down $7,500 on a project and it doesn't feel so frightening. Investing and making the project happen with strategy, not just throwing money out there, doesn't feel as frightening. And it's such a great thing to be part of. And so I'm not here to tell you that before you get into all this, you need to fix yourself. There's so much messaging out there about manifestation and all of the things, and even like growing your business, that there's something you got to fix first. I mean, I spent years in that as a business coach, as well as in my own business, like what's going wrong. But if you would look more at what you want to create and then working on having the faith that it can happen, and then surround yourself with the people that also have faith in you, a mentor, me, a coach, whatever, and really like know and see it unfolding, like look for it unfolding, your mindset will change. And the minute your mindset changes, it changes what you're receiving, and it changes what you have, right? And this is why I have put together my Real Estate Empire program, which is a 12-month program that'll lead you through 12 months to get to 7 figures. And even though that sounds like, when you're listening to me now, you're like, yeah, that's a bold claims. I do it over and over and over again with people. And it's not just because you're able to say it when you first sit with me, you live it. You see it happening. And when you're in the midst of it unfolding and your own expansion unfolding, you can't help but have your mindset change. So the big start in all of this is start to listen to how you are speaking to yourself, because your thoughts become things, right? And so if you're saying it's hard, if you're saying you can't do it, or it never works for you, or you hope but you don't really know or believe, let's change that. Catch yourself in that. And then watch yourself, what you think about money, what you think about how much you can bring in, and get in the mode, especially in real estate investing, in just riding the wave of watching it unfold. And I'm really glad to help you do that.